And it's the dumbest bill in America. And we have discussed this before, but there's a reason we're discussing it again. The dumbest bill in America is decriminalizing assaults on police. Oh. Now, we did this before, but guess what's happened now? Is the bill is actually advanced in the Senate in Virginia. The state Senate in Virginia has advanced this bill. It's SB 5032. Before, it was just a bill that was put in, and no one thought, well, this has no chance of passing. Well, now, after months of watching attacks on police by mobs and by thugs and by rioters and by criminals, the state of Virginia says, well, we're going to advance that bill so that when you attack a police officer, it won't automatically be a felony. We don't, because in Virginia right now, if you do that, if you attack a police officer or assault them in some way, it's automatically 6 months in jail. Well, you know what? That's kind of a good teaching moment, 6 months in jail, because it's like, dude, really? Just say yes, sir, to the officer and get along and go about your business, right? Because the man or woman deserves respect. Mm-hmm. Oh, not in Virginia. Now they're saying, we're not going to advance that at all. We're not going to respect that at all. So SB 5032 has advanced to the Senate and is likely to become law in the state of Virginia, which is why we're talking about it again. We have a discussion about this. There's actually debate in Richmond that was on the Senate floor. But before that, we have a news report from WFXR in Richmond, and here it is.
New tonight at 10, the Virginia Senate approved legislation that would eliminate a 6-month mandatory minimum sentence for assaulting a police officer. The bill was approved despite strong objections from Republicans who say it disrespects police, especially considering they're under attack nationwide. Democrats say the legislation does not minimize the crime of assaulting a police officer, but instead makes a distinction between serious assaults and minor assaults. The bill keeps the charge as a felony, but gives a judge or jury discretion to reduce it to a misdemeanor.
So there you go. Brian, I just got to ask you something.
What?
Have you ever really had an urge to attack a police officer?
I don't get taser shot, no.
Yeah, I mean, but have you been upset enough so you're like, I'm just going to go attack that guy and assault him?
No, I don't want to have a felony. I like enjoying my rights. It's my Second Amendment right.
It's just not something that pretty much everybody I know have really thought of. I mean, have you been angry that you were pulled over because you got a ticket? Were you angry that maybe the police officer was hiding behind, the woods with his car, and you drive by and he stops you because you were speeding? Yes, that's happened to me as well. Of course I was angry. But never would it ever have occurred to me. Would it ever occur to you that you're going to go, oh, you know what? I'm going to escalate this and I'm going to go assault the guy?
So I actually had a conversation with my friends quite recently about, and my friends come from both sides of the spectrum, and we kind of both, I've never really encountered police for anything anything bad. I've just, but anyways, I personally thought, role play in my head, would like not to be detained by a police officer where I have to sit against the hood and have my hands handcuffed. I wouldn't like that, because then I don't have freedom of movement. Now this cop is heightened on something. I may have done something wrong I didn't know about, or something he pinged off his system and has my car flagged for something, or my name. I don't know. I'm just trying to say, all right, I'm going to play ball. I'm not liking it. I'm not getting it because you're not telling me why you're searching anything, why I'm being detained. You're saying you're being detained right now for investigation. Okay, cool. I would be kind of frustrated about it. And, though, would I want to assault an officer? Hell no, because the consequences of the action do not make any sense. And also, that's another human being I want to respect. They respect me, I respect them. It's as simple how you interact with people.
I am convinced, I'm sure there's probably science that can support this, I don't have it at the moment, but I am convinced that a lot of the individuals who feel compelled to assault police officers, who are primarily men, of course.
Yep.
By the men, I mean the people who are doing the assaulting of police officers are men. I'm convinced that those individuals grew up without fathers and had no real discipline or father figure to tell them and enforce, the law, if you will, in their household. And I also am convinced too that it's almost like the Democrat Party, including in apparently Richmond, Virginia, in the state of Virginia, it's like they're doing all the stuff that's opposite of common sense.
So
based on what we're seeing in the street.
Every action has a reaction. Granted, it depends on what action you take will in verse give you that reaction. So you may take an action that escalates something unjust for no reason, and then the reaction that you may receive is not going to be kind to you, where it may end up in bodily harm. Where you can do an action where it de-escalates or keep the situation neutral, where everyone walks away safe, happy, and free. Or if you are a criminal or having a warrant, you then guess what happens? You have an active warrant, you're going to get arrested because they have to bring you in. It's their job. You have an active warrant, you did something to get a warrant. It's like you're playing Russian roulette when you're going to get popped by a cop. And
I think this makes police. This bill, it has advanced 5032 SB 5032. It actually makes police less safe.
The teeth of that law has been filed down now, so the action, the punishment of that action of doing that is now the bite's not as severe potentially,
Absolutely.
Which.
And look, the teaching moment.
Yeah.
The teaching moment when you don't have a father, right? The father teaching moment of the child would be some sort of punishment if there were a father in the house.
Yep.
But when there isn't, and you become an adult and one day you assault a police officer, you know what the teaching moment is? 6 months in jail. And they should be keeping it.
And you're a felon. And the last thing, too, you talked about not having a father in the home, is that's a generational issue, and that's a big issue affecting every single group, identity, across the whole country. And it's going to take generations to fix it, unfortunately. And
yeah, well,
honestly,
it took the Democratic Party a couple generations to screw it up. So
yep.
Here's WTKR in Richmond, Virginia, with footage of the actual debate of this bill on the Senate floor in Richmond. Here's the clip.
Felonies.
We got to be smart about felonies. We can't just be handing these things out like candy.
But Republicans were outraged, saying this is the wrong message to send to police at this time.
What in the world are we doing here? Have you watched television for the last couple of weeks? Have you seen what our police officers are going through? Have you seen the attacks on our police officers?
So you heard the Republican, and before that you heard the Democrat saying, we can't pass out felonies like candy. You know what? There has to be something that you pay. There's some price that you pay for doing this. Otherwise, you don't have law and order. Final thoughts on this?
So I think if they wanted to get rid of mandatory minimums, they should start looking at maybe the Title I drug reform. If they managed to get rid of those, in my opinion, work on actually fixing the drug addiction issue in this country rather than reducing the punishment for assaulting a police officer. And honestly, I think if this bill does pass out of Richmond, all across Virginia, there's going to be a case of the blue flu, and I don't know when that's going to be cured.
Well said. And that's the final thought for Mark and the Millennials. Thank you for joining Mark and the Millennials. This is Mark Fisher. Thank you to our millennial, Ryan the Squirrel Brady. We're so happy he's back. And of course, our producer, Adam Couture, our assistant producer, Christopher Hopkins. Check us out on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and our website. See you next time.